on Tuesday that the youth is under corrupt leadership or poor leadership, do you think it's a possibility for them to say, okay, I'm going to stay back and develop Africa? Would they be given that opportunity if they did stay back?
Well, there ought to be programs that are put in place to encourage persons to stay back. And the programs would be job opportunities, business opportunities, entrepreneurial opportunities, opportunities to grow and to develop. If the opportunities are missing, then people will not want to stay back. The opportunities needs to be created on the ground. You have a university, you have a technical college, and you have graduates coming out of those institutions. When those graduates graduate, there is an expectation on their part to play a role in the society, whether it be to fill a job or to create jobs. And if you graduate from technical school, university, computer school, whatever, accounting, and the opportunities are not there, it is only natural that you would want to look to where those opportunities are. And I'm saying that if you are building universities and schools and hospitals and nursing schools, dental schools, then you need to create the environment to absorb these graduates when they come out of university. Otherwise, you are spending money on your education system to educate them, and then there is the so-called brain drain that is taking place when they leave and go elsewhere.
Right. Thank you very much for that. I have another question for you, but I'm hoping that I can come to you before you leave for your meeting. Prof, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Okay, so we said that today we're talking about the African youth, and our question is why should the African youth stay back and develop Africa, given the fact that Africa is experiencing a massive exodus, especially when it comes to the youth. We have a lot of stories about youth being the young ones, especially dying on seas or near the deserts in Mexico and whatever. So why do you think that they should avoid these things and rather stay to develop Africa, given the fact that, like we're talking about on Tuesday, the African youth is being led by a poor leadership?
Okay, the first thing I want to say concerning the topic is that the only reason why there is mass exodus where African youths are actually running out of the continent is because of the state of things in the continent at the hour, at the time being. I believe that if many African youths could, for example, have been educated rightly, they would have had to stay back at home. But because they lack that education that permits them to become creative, that is one of the reasons why they live out of the country. So to come back on that point, I want to hit on it a bit. African youths for more than 200 years, or say 200 to 300 years, have been, I'm talking of 200 to 300, let's just put it about 300 years. Because during the moment of slavery, some of them were not being educated. When they came for colonization, they started struggling to educate. But the kind of education that was given to the African youth was actually to give him the capability to read and to write. And when independence actually took place, most of the educational systems that were used in colonial period were still maintained. So the educational system has been maintained for the past period of time. And so most of those who say they are going to school, when they go to school, they are informed on what is happening on their areas. They're informed on situations. and they are given the ability to read and to write. With that ability to read and to write, they are fit to become secretaries. So what do they need to do? They need to go look for white collar jobs in relation to what they can do. Their spirit, or say their inner man, is not awakened so that they could become creative. I heard Kennedy talking about vocational institutions or technical schools. Most of what is called technical schools in Africa are practically just, should I say, training centers where there are no equipment. So most of them, they are do theoretical works in the name of practical, and end up not being able to have any effective skills that can help them do what they are supposed to be doing. So I want to say the only problem that the only reason, I beg your pardon, why African youths can stay back at home will be when they have something tangible that they can do at home. If not, you will see the brain drain continue. They will be streaming abroad. Some of them will be dying in Libya. Some of them will be dying in the Mediterranean Sea, some in Mexico and other areas of the world, simply because they want to look for greener pastures. So the search for greener pastures will continue as long as something is not done for them to stay back at home. So the question you might have asked me is, why should they stay back? Why should they stay back? And knowing that there are no opportunities, why should they stay back? I want to say it is actually something difficult to do, to stay back at home and pretend that everything is working. No, that's not true. With the systems in place, the leaders we have, there is no encouragement for young people to stay back at home. Each one of them is actually suffering from, I don't know what, they are going through a lot of stress. So I want to say, for them to stay back, we need platforms that will give them reason to stay back. There need to be a new system of education that will be set up to train the African youths to believe in themselves and to believe in their continent, believe in what they can give to the society, because they are flying out, running out of the continent because they don't believe that there is anything back here at home which they could give. So as a result of that, there is this stress, this brain drain running. You study, for example, let's say a youth who go to school, study to become a doctor, but when they graduate from being a doctor, there were no hospitals to actually employ them. So they start looking for ways to fly out of the country to, in one way or the other, get employment out of the country, knowing also that the salaries that are being paid abroad are a little bit higher and better than what is paid here at home. So the salaries attract them over there. The good life over there attracts them. But how do we manage to let them stay at home? As I said, we need to reinvent the educational system and be able to boost our economy. We are also supposed to learn how to train the students to become job creators and not job seekers. The only main reason for them going out is looking for payment. They are looking for greener pastures. Greener pastures is the name of what is what is pulling them out there. But we could make the greener pastures here at home by actually investing in Africa, so that the African youths can see a reason why they should stay back at home. When we don't invest in our economy, we do not invest in our nation, the jobs out there will pull our youth out there. But why should youth be looking for jobs? Shouldn't they go to school and be the ones who create jobs? But that is a system of education that was given to them. That's why I said the system of education needs to change. They were given the opportunity to school, but in their schooling, they were actually trained and taught to live abroad, not to live in Africa, because the educational system does not handle the African problems, but it handles European problems. So when you are trained to be a European, the only best thing you can do is to rush to Europe or to America so as to fit in the kind of environment in which you were trained to fit in. So we need an African-oriented educational system that will permit African students to stay in Africa and be able to invest in Africa. We train them to be able to see how to solve the African problems, because the purpose of education is to provoke individuals to solve the problems of the society. So when we educate people, these youths, we should educate them to have what it takes to solve the problems that are found in Africa. But like I said, you will not train a young man to become an automobile mechanic, and when he graduates from the university, there are no companies in Africa that can be able to actually bring them in. What do you expect from him? He needs to live out of the continent in order to look for where he can feed, and so that he can get greener pastures. But that is the problem. So we expect that African educational systems should be fashioned to solve African problems.
So, Prof, we're talking about the education that has been handed down to the African child, and that is one of the things that has made them feel that you need to be out of Africa to live a better life. What about the cultural aspect of it, the spiritual aspect of it? Doesn't it also play as a factor why the African youth, would prefer to leave Africa for greener pasture, like you said?
The only issue concerning the spiritual aspect of this, let's say, the spirituality of the African child is the fact that they have been made not to believe in themselves. They have been made not to believe in the African spirituality, which to an extent, though has its limits and shortcomings, is not necessarily wrong or bad or evil, but based on the way it has been diabolized, they don't believe. So they believe that the system is against them. The African system is against them. And if they believe that the African system is against them, what you should expect from them is to run away from the system. They believe that African spirituality is diabolic, demonic, and evil. And as a result of that, they are afraid of being Africans. So they prefer to leave Africa and go where they believe that they can feed. I am not standing against any foreign religion. I'm not standing even against Christianity, because, as I said, Christianity is a body of truth that a lot of persons have misquoted and misrepresented to feed their greedy purposes. And some people who keep on saying that Christianity came to Africa through the Europeans, I will still remind them that Christianity never came to Africa through the Europeans. But the manner in which the Europeans came and actually made Africans to see that the African spirituality is evil is what is the problem. I believe that the systems could actually be put together to represent the minds of the African people. Christianity could be made to feed, to represent the African spirituality as well. Oh, what am I saying? We need to bring it, match it together. I don't see anything wrong with the beliefs of the African people. The only problem might be comes when there are some excessives, murder and some other issues. So I would like that the spirituality that had been neglected should be revamped. That will help the African people to understand that for them to be successful, they need to see themselves in light of who they are. Why am I saying this? African spirituality is based on cosmology and, let me say, cosmogony. And when you look at it, it has to do with the holistic nature of things, implying that the African spirituality chooses to combine spirituality and physicality together. There is no separation of the two. And that is where a lot of young Africans are missing, because they don't see how this holistic nature of their spirituality can help them to excel. Why am I saying this? That is the same spirituality that gave the Kemet, or say the ancient Egyptians, the capability to build wonderful and great towers. The architectural background and knowledge came from their understanding of the spiritual and the physical world. They assess the spiritual world to gain insight and understanding on how to make the world a beautiful place, or truly the Garden of Eden. And as a result of that, their knowledge advanced based on the fact that they were not looking at the world just from the physical viewpoint. They were looking at the world also from the spiritual viewpoint. They brought the two together. So when you go back, you look at the source of African spirituality, you will see that the African spirituality actually emerged from science. So as I was saying,
okay, he's back.
As I was saying, African spirituality actually emerged from sciences. African spirituality is not just it's not a kind of something that just appeared. The people don't just not get up and started believing in idols or carving sticks. No, they were questioning the environment in which they were found in. They're looking at the sky, they're looking at the rivers, they're looking at whatever was around them, and started questioning who could have created such things. And it ended up with them saying that all these great and wonderful things that are seen are created by somebody. And their study of the atmosphere of the sky brought them to geometry, brought them into geology, started studying the environment, brought them to geology. They started studying, it brought them to philosophy, it brought them to all what we have, cosmology. And with all that, the African, sorry,
Yeah,
my
Prophet, seems
network
like
is
your
disturbing.
connection
My
is-
network is actually disturbing a lot. And I don't know, it's disturbing me much. So as I said, it takes an understanding of these things to be able to actually realize that African spirituality has benefits, which if we are able to inculcate them in our youth, they will be able to see life as a whole, not in parts, not partially. And when they see that they will become more scientific and will have the ability to contribute to the society more than they are doing right now. So we need to push our youths to get to become good contributors. Thank you.
What benefits do they have? Bearing in mind that the reason for them leaving the country is because they don't have anything to benefit.
No.
Because of the situation that the African continent is in right now. So if you're saying to the African, you stay back and develop Africa, what benefits should they have, or what's the word? There's a word. What assurance should they have if you ask them to stay back?
To be sincere with you, there are a lot of benefits being an African. The things, some of them think that Europe is like, wow, paradise. It's only when you go there that you get to know that manna does not fall from heaven. I want to say this. An agama lizard in Africa will not become a crocodile in America because it entered in a plane. What am I saying? The same attitude you have right now in Africa, if you carry that same attitude to Europe, you will still go there and be a beggar. We have a problem as Africans because everywhere in the world we go looking for jobs. We don't go creating our businesses. When you look, I want you to do a little bit a study. You will discover that most of the Asians, when Asians enter somewhere, they struggle to create their own businesses and own their own businesses. They build their communities. Look at the Jews. When the Jews go somewhere, they build their communities. They own their businesses. When the Caucasians go somewhere, they build their communities. In fact, even if they are not building communities, they own businesses. They create businesses. But look at the African people. When the African people go out of their continent or wheresoever they are located.
Okay, Prof.
So
I think you're back on.
Should I conclude?
Yes, you may.
Yes. So I was saying that when you see African youths, when they leave the continent and they fly out of the country, what you see is they go looking for jobs. They want to work for people. There is a slave mentality which they already have. And that slave mentality is a reason why they are underlooked in every society. They are disrespected because they don't want to own. And they like fighting one against another. They don't like to unite. But that is based on the kind of education that they had received, which actually splits them into two. The African man by nature is a social person. We are socialists in our way of living. We like living in communities. But the education that the white man brought to us, he had studied us, he saw our weakness, he struggled to form an education that will break us into parts. So as a result of that, the African people are divided right from inside of them. So they get splitting outside. So what will be the benefit of them staying back home? First, if you stay back home, I want to tell you, all the minerals that are found on Earth, Africa has over 60% of the world's wealth, which implies Africa is the most richest continent in the world. While you are struggling to rush to Europe, Europeans are struggling to rush to Africa to exploit what you have. So I think it will be better for you to choose to stay back at home and build yourself up to get to exploit what you have at home. Secondly, Africa has the most youngest population, which implies that Africa has a labor force that outbeats the entire globe. And if you look at the entire continent space, I mean the landscape, of Africa compared to any other nation, the landscape of Africa is 3 times that of America. The landscape of Africa is 3 times that of Europe. The landscape of Africa is 3 times that of China. Why do I bring these statistics to you? You need to know it so that you know that we still have arable land that if we invest in, we will make wonderful stripes. We have the largest landscape, but we have the population of China is more than that of Africa. Africa has a population of 1.3 billion people, while China has a population of 1.4 billion people. But we have a landscape that is 3 times bigger than theirs. What are you understanding from that? You have opportunities that other continents, citizens of other continents do not have. We can spend time, invest in our continent and make it the breadbasket of the world. And we will provoke the world to come to Africa to buy from us. Why am I saying this? If you and I mean all the youths that are presently in Africa choose to stay back at home and invest their energy and time in agriculture first, then we would, in one way or the other, already have taken over the food production dimension of the world. And when we do that, we start pulling all those industries here to invest here. We don't go investing out there. We invest here. The diaspora runs into Africa, invest in Africa. Then, wheresoever you are, you'll be respected. The Africans, or let's say the black people around the world, will be respected because we would have jointly built Africa together, and it will become a place, in fact, the Garden of Eden that we are all expecting to see in the world. Africa can become better than you are thinking. So let's spend our time and invest in it. There are lots of benefits in it for us to enjoy. Don't run out of it. Thank you. So I believe I've spoken, and you will judge it by yourself.
Okay, thank you so very much, Prof, for that. And I will soon get back to you, but let us give a chance to our other panelist, Gladys, who has joined us. Gladys, are you there? Gladys, are you there?
Hello?
Hi, Gladys, and good evening, and thank you for taking your time out
Good
to
evening,
be one of our
Blondie.
panelists this evening. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great. Just that I've been a little bit confused, but it's okay. I've been a little bit confused with the topic, but it's okay now.
Okay, I'm hoping that, okay, like you said, it's okay. So I'm just going to go straight to ask you the question, why should the African youth stay back and develop Africa?
Ok, pour répondre à cette question, Blandine, je vais commencer déjà par un premier point, parce que j'ai élaboré en 2 points. Les raisons pour lesquelles les jeunes Africains préfèrent aller à l'étranger et les encourager en deuxième partie à rester en Afrique. Donc, dans le premier point, je vais commencer par dire que les raisons qui les amènent à quitter l'Afrique pour se rendre en Europe, c'est le manque d'opportunités. Ils sont tous le problème que nous avons. Donc, aujourd'hui, en parlant, il faudrait que les jeunes qui nous écoutent sachent que, en fait, on connaît et nous cherchons à trouver des solutions. Je vais commencer par parler du premier point qui est le manque d'opportunités. Ça, c'est l'une des raisons. Pourquoi je le dis? Lorsque on a un système éducatif qui est prêt comme le nôtre et qui ne forme que des jeunes à être des chercheurs d'emploi, on se retrouve et qui ne peuvent rien faire avec ces donc, de chercher de l'emploi. Maintenant, quand ils cherchent ces emplois, ils n'ont pas d'opportunité de travail. Pourquoi? Parce que le travail en Afrique et au Cameroun en particulier, parce que je me base sur le Cameroun, je suis au Cameroun, je me base sur le Cameroun en particulier, les gens qui ont l'opportunité de travail ne sont que des fils et filles de dirigeants. Soit tu es un fils ou une fille de dirigeant, soit alors tu as une connexion avec les dirigeants. Voilà le premier problème des jeunes Africains. Voilà la première raison qui pousse les jeunes Africains à vouloir se retrouver hors du continent africain. Lorsqu'on prend l'exemple des concours au Cameroun en particulier, on se rend compte que si tu n'es pas fils de tel ou fille de tel, il est difficile pour toi de réussir à un concours officiel au Cameroun. Ça, c'est déplorable. On ne peut pas nous faire croire que les jeunes, ceux qui ont la possibilité de réussir ces concours, ne sont que les fils des dirigeants camerounais. Non, c'est une erreur. Donc, voilà des raisons qui amènent les jeunes au jour d'aujourd'hui à dire que non, attends, j'en ai marre, je préfère aller ailleurs et me battre ailleurs. Il y a un autre problème qui est le fait le gain des marchés. Les jeunes Africains, même lorsqu'ils décident d'entreprendre, ont un problème dans le gain de marché. Ils n'arrivent même pas à gagner les marchés. Voilà les problèmes dont font face les jeunes Africains et qui leur poussent à se retrouver hors du continent africain. Maintenant, on a un deuxième point que j'ai élaboré qui est l'adaptation. Je parle de l'adaptation pourquoi? L'adaptation pour ceux qui, au jour d'aujourd'hui, ont pu d'une manière ou d'une autre, trouver un travail, peu importe le travail dont il est question, peu importe si ça cadre avec leurs études, peu importe si ça cadre avec leurs aspirations, mais du moment où ils peuvent sortir du matin et aller quelque part et revenir le soir, ils s'adaptent, quoi. C'est pourquoi je parle en deuxième point de l'adaptation. Pour ce genre de personnes, est-ce qu'ils sont heureux de rester en Afrique? Non, je suis désolée. Pour quelqu'un qui, au jour d'aujourd'hui, ne travaille que parce que, OK, il faut que je m'adapte à cette situation, il faut que je m'adapte à cette condition, c'est difficile de pouvoir accepter de rester en Afrique. Maintenant, je pars à un troisième point qui est la débrouillardise. Il y a beaucoup d'Africains aujourd'hui, beaucoup de Camerounais qui se retrouvent à devoir se débrouiller avec des masters, des doctorats. On a vu dernièrement au Cameroun des doctorants sur les rues en train de demander du travail. Ça, c'est à ce à quoi les jeunes Africains sont réduits. C'est à ça que les jeunes Africains sont réduits. Pourquoi? À cause du système éducatif qu'ils ont reçu. Maintenant, la conclusion de tout ceci amène nos jeunes Africains, nous, jeunes Africains, nous amène à des délinquances, à des actes vraiment méprisables. Comme au jour d'aujourd'hui, on rencontre des jeunes qui sont comment je peux positionner ça? Voilà le conditionnement dans lequel les jeunes Africains se retrouvent aujourd'hui. En parlant ce soir, j'essaye de communiquer quelque chose aux jeunes Africains. C'est que je connais ce par quoi ils passent parce que moi-même, je passe par là. Je sais en fait la mentalité, les compréhensions, les intentions qu'ils peuvent avoir parce que moi-même, j'ai ce genre d'intention. Mais maintenant, est-ce qu'il faudrait qu'on s'arrête là parce que, le continent africain ne nous permet pas de nous épanouir? berceau de l'humanité. Ce n'est pas au hasard qu'on appelle l'Afrique berceau de l'humanité. Alors, à chaque fois que cette pensée à chaque fois que cette pensée de, OK, vouloir quitter l'Afrique en disant que, OK, je vais à la recherche du vrai pâturage, je vais dire, il faut que ces Africains, ces jeunes Africains, mes jeunes confrères, comprennent qu'ils sont en train de se tromper lourdement. Pourquoi appeler l'Occident le vert pâturage? Je suis désolée. L'Occident ne peut jamais être le vert pâturage parce que le berceau de l'humanité, c'est l'Afrique. Le berceau de l'humanité, c'est l'Afrique. Donc, s'il faut parler de vert pâturage, le vert pâturage ne peut que se retrouver en Afrique. Alors, il faudra que les jeunes Africains, au jour d'aujourd'hui, lorsqu'ils disent, OK, je vais à la recherche du vert pâturage en Occident, il faudrait qu'ils comprennent déjà qu'ils sont dans l'erreur. Dans l'erreur déjà sur le plan sur le plan terminologique, parce que sur le plan terminologique et analytique de la situation.
John, can you please mute your mic?
Merci. Voilà. Je disais tantôt que le premier découragement que je vais donner à mes jeunes confrères africains de bien vouloir laisser l'Afrique pour aller en Occident dans l'optique d'avoir le vert pâturage, c'est déjà, ils sont en train de se tromper. Pourquoi? Parce que le vert pâturage, c'est en Afrique. C'est en Afrique encore qu'on a des terres. C'est en Afrique encore qu'on a la possibilité de faire de l'agriculture à des hectares et des hectares et des hectares illimitables. Ce n'est qu'en Afrique qu'on peut avoir ce genre d'opportunités. Et il faut le savoir, ce qui rend une économie solide, c'est d'abord l'agriculture. C'est d'abord l'agriculture. Et ce n'est qu'au berceau de l'humanité, dans le berceau de l'humanité, qu'on peut avoir ce genre d'opportunités. Donc, il faudrait que les jeunes Africains aujourd'hui, jeunes confrères, enlèvent enlèvent la compréhension qu'on leur a donnée que le vert pâturage, c'est en Occident, parce que jamais le vert pâturage n'a été l'Occident. Le vert pâturage, c'est l'Afrique. Dans un deuxième point, maintenant, je vais parler du fait de laisser ta propre maison pour aller nettoyer la maison de quelqu'un d'autre. Parce que c'est en fait cela, c'est en fait ce qu'on observe lorsqu'on se rend compte que les jeunes Africains remplis d'un background intellectuel, remplis de jugeotes et de connaissances préfèrent se retrouver en Occident pour des raisons que j'ai citées au préalable. Je voudrais leur dire ceci, c'est que laisser ta maison pour aller nettoyer celle de l'autre, à la fin, tu te retrouveras sans rien du tout. Vous, chaque continent, vont vous chasser de leur pays et vous n'aurez plus de fondement. Vous n'aurez plus de fondement. Pourquoi? Parce que en retournant en Afrique, vous n'aurez plus rien. Je prends un exemple simple. Il y a des familles qui ont vendu toute leur terre, tout leur terrain pour envoyer tous leurs enfants à nous. Au jour d'aujourd'hui, ils n'ont plus aucune richesse en Afrique. Ils n'ont plus rien au Cameroun. Alors, si ces personnes se retrouvent dans une situation où les Occidentaux leur disent qu'ils vont rentrer en Afrique et ils seront pauvres. Pourquoi? Parce qu'ils avaient tout vendu pour se retrouver là-bas. Donc, déjà, voilà je ne sais pas si ça peut encourager quelqu'un aujourd'hui à arrêter de penser que, OK, je vais vendre mon fonds de commerce pour me retrouver en Europe. OK, je vais vendre mon entreprise pour me retrouver en Europe. OK, je vais vendre mon terrain pour me retrouver en Europe. Je ne sais pas si mon discours ou bien, je ne sais pas comment positionner cela ce soir peut encourager les jeunes à avoir du recul dans ce genre de pratique. Je prends un autre exemple. Autant pour moi. Si tu es un jeune enfant et puis tu décides d'abandonner tes parents et est-ce que tu penses que ton parent est celui-là qui t'a fait le plus du mal sur la terre, abandonner ton parent dans la souffrance et aller nettoyer, aller aider un autre parent, là, tu n'es pas en train d'agir comme une personne sensée. Tu n'es pas en train d'agir comme quelqu'un qui a tous ses sens en accord. Donc, est-ce qu'il faudrait encourager donc ce genre d'action? Je vais dire non. Je vais dire à mes jeunes confrères africains que non, ce n'est pas ça la solution. Ce n'est pas la solution n'est pas d'abandonner le chez toi pour aller bâtir le pays de l'autre, pour aller bâtir le continent de l'autre. Non. Un troisième point, je vais évoquer, un troisième et dernier point, je vais invoquer le fait que est-ce qu'il est arrivé déjà aux Africains, aux jeunes Africains que nous sommes, de penser que, OK, peut-être le fait que les colons ont rendu inconfortable notre continent pour nous était un plan pour que nous puissions abandonner effectivement nos terres et nous retrouver chez eux pour que eux, aujourd'hui, se retrouvent en Afrique. Parce que aujourd'hui, je faisais un reportage et je me suis rendu compte qu'il y a des terres, que les Européens ont eues en Afrique. Et je vais tirer un coup de chapeau à Robert Mugabe aujourd'hui parce que il a eu le courage de récupérer ces terres et remettre aux familles africaines. Mais est-ce qu'on devrait en arriver là? Non. Si on arrive là, il faudrait que les jeunes se posent des questions. Il faudrait que les jeunes Africains se posent des questions. Pourquoi est-ce que le colon va laisser son continent et venir acquérir des terres en Afrique et créer des plantations? Pourquoi? Il faudrait que les jeunes Africains aujourd'hui se posent ces questions. Et lorsqu'ils commencent à se poser des questions, ils comprendront que, mais attends, en fait, ils sont en train de nous décourager à rester dans notre continent pour venir s'accaparer de nos richesses. Et ce n'est que c'est simplement ce qu'ils sont en train de faire. Parce qu'aujourd'hui, ils vont dire, ils achètent juste les terres pour faire l'agriculture, mais je suis désolée, ils sont au courant des richesses souterraines que le continent africain a. Et en fait, c'est ça leur cible principale. La cible principale n'est pas l'agriculture qu'ils sont en train de faire, non. La cible principale, c'est le sous-sol. Ce sont les minéraux qui sont dans le sous-sol africain. C'est ça la cible principale des Occidentaux. Et ils vont tout faire. Et ils ont effectivement tout fait pour décourager la jeunesse africaine à penser que, OK, il en est fini de nous. On ne peut plus rien pour l'Afrique. L'Afrique en est finie. Il en est fini de l'Afrique. La seule chose à faire, c'est aller en Europe et puis avoir le pain quotidien, envoyer peut-être 10 francs, 5 francs à nos familles en Afrique. Mais je suis désolée. Je suis désolée. Il faudrait que les Africains, les jeunes Africains aujourd'hui se réveillent. Il faudrait que les jeunes Africains aujourd'hui se réveillent. Il est l'heure de se réveiller. Il est temps de se réveiller. Parce qu'on ne va pas continuer à être aveuglé jusqu'à l'infini. Non, il est temps pour nous de comprendre. Il est temps pour nous de prendre le taureau par les cornes. On ne peut pas continuer à laisser les Occidentaux nous manipuler de cette manière, nous instrumentaliser de cette manière. Ils ont réussi à inculquer dans nos cerveaux qu'en Afrique, il n'y a plus rien pour nous. Le meilleur qu'on puisse avoir, c'est l'Occident, pour une seule raison, c'est que nous allons là-bas et qu'eux, ils viennent s'accaparer de nos richesses. Donc aujourd'hui, j'espère que les jeunes Africains ont pu écouter ma modeste contribution et vont s'asseoir et méditer là-dessus et voir ce qu'il y a de bon et ce qu'il y a de mauvais et choisir précisément ce qu'il y a de bon dans ce que j'ai pu donner comme contribution ce soir. Merci.
Thank you very much, Gladys, for your contribution. And for those of us who don't understand French, what she simply said is one of the reasons end up doing something else just, to have bread on their table, not because that is what they studied in school. And, and she went ahead to encourage the African youth that Africa normally is the cradle of humankind, and it makes no sense that East Africa is regarded as a cradle of humankind. Why should the African youth go out, to make a living when there's a lot that we can do in Africa? She also made a statement that really, really got to me. She said, why would you not clean your own house, but rather be comfortable or find it okay to go and clean someone else's house? So thank you so very much, Gladys, for that deep insight that you've given us this evening. I can see that Kennedy is back on. So Kennedy, welcome back. Are you there with us?
Yes, I am here, and I just picked up on your discussion and your discourse.
Yes.
In terms of Africa being the cradle of creation, as well as why clean somebody else's house is against cleaning yours. And I know that that analogy is being used in the context of staying and developing the continent, those that has the technical skills, the wherewithal, the education, and how important that is, particularly from a leadership standpoint. And leadership need not necessarily be at governmental level, but leadership can be in leadership skills, whether it be applied on a football field, whether it be applied in sport, but we are talking leadership in business, leadership in right methodologies, leadership in how things are done and what things should be done, as well as the quality of decisions that are made and the method of implementation in terms of implementing those decisions. So that I'm a full supporter of staying and developing where you are.
Okay. Sorry, just give me a minute. Okay, you say you are a strong supporter of staying and developing where you are, but my question to you is, how can you sell this idea to the youth? Because most of them, the reason why they're leaving, as Gladys rightfully said, is the lack of opportunity, the fact that they have to, like, adaptability. You have to adapt to something that you didn't necessarily study just because you want to make a living. Most often we find, like in Cameroon especially, I can't count the number of times I had to get on a bike to get to my destination. You all know that we have, like, Okada drivers, like we call them in Nigeria. We have bike riders here that we use for transportation. And most often, I'm someone that I communicate. I love to talk. So when I get on the bike with someone, I engage in conversation with them, I realize that this person actually is a degree holder. Or I realize that the English power that from this person is really, welcome, Henry. Could you please mute your mic? Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah. So I realized that the language power from this person is actually amazing, and it blows me back. So my question to you is, how do you sell this idea, Kennedy? How do you sell this idea to the youth, the staying back idea to the youth?
It is doable, right? So what ought to be done is to make staying attractive. Make staying attractive from the standpoint of gradual growth over time, so that even if I were to choose to stay and my growth trajectory in terms of an individual income and quality of life, what needs to be presented to me is that over time, like on a year-on-year-on basis, there will be improvements year on year. So your income ought to improve, your quality of life ought to improve, your standard of living ought to improve year on year, so that you are providing this youth who has chosen to stay back with opportunities, so that he would need to get access to, in one instance, we are saying loans, so that even if he is a bicycle transporter, that's his mode of transport, then he probably may be able to purchase a second bike and have another person drive it for him. That is just one example. If he is into agriculture, then he may be able to purchase a second plot or tooling or equipment that would allow him that opportunity to grow, so that if that becomes evident, if there's a registry of graduates who have chosen to stay, and I know it would be in the thousands and in some cases the millions, but the system has to be managed where you are seeing growth over time. So year on year capital appreciation, year on year quality of life improvement, make staying attractive, right? And it is doable. You will be surprised how powerful the marketing could be done to make staying attractive to young people. And so I would have, if somebody stayed for 5 years and they can measure the level of improvement that they would have experienced, then over another 5-year period, they can anticipate how their life is going to improve as well. So that would be how I would target that whole question, Blandine, of encouraging young persons to stay.
Right. Thank you very much, Kennedy, for your contribution. So what you're basically, I'm still with you, Kennedy, because now when we were talking to a prof, he made mention of the education that the African youth receives, and it's such that it actually pulls their mind away from the African-ness that they are, and makes them believe that if you don't move out of Africa, then you haven't really achieved something. So to speak, they're looking forward. In Cameroon, for example, student would, as soon as you get to Form 5, you write the GCSE ordinary level, you start processing your travel papers, right? And you know that once you get to opposites, your reason for passing your A levels is not because you're in the class and you have to succeed so that you go to university. But the reason of passing your GCSE advanced level examination was so that you can travel abroad, right? And that is due to the education that the African child or the African youth has received, coupled with the cultural influences as well. So do you concur with Prof when he says that the education and the culture is the prominent reasons why the African youth choose to leave Africa for greener pastures?
So for young people, travel is always very exciting. And, if you were to attempt to discourage a young person from wanting to travel and see the world and to study elsewhere in a different town or village or country from where they grew up, then that is hardly likely. But the one but for me is that, so you have a international students who travel across that modified curriculum that makes staying home attractive, even if it means going to another city or another town or another country within the continent to pursue your undergraduate or graduate studies, then that makes the entire experience one to look forward to. Recently, we had the case of a young man from the Gambia who spoke about the benefits of studying within the continent and refusing external scholarships. And chances are, yes, he would be 1 in a million, but that should be the norm as against it being the exception. It should be normal to want to study within the continent, to crisscross the continent and go to different universities, as against thinking the best is being offered outside. Because, you know, as that young guy rightly said, the solutions that is being looked for need to be created and invented by the persons who are living that experience. And I'm sure all of us would have seen his interview and knows of what he said. So studying at home, coming up with the solutions at home, coming up with lasting, sustainable, implementable solutions at home by studying at different universities. You need not study in your country, you may be from Ghana, you can study in Nigeria, you can study in South Africa, but you stay on the continent and benefit from studying on the continent. And that would be my recommendation.
Okay, thank you very much, Kennedy, for that. And I want to, Prof, are you there? Because I have this question. We spoke about something.
I'm there.
Yeah. All right. You spoke about something, and it's a question that has been playing in my mind that I thought I should ask you. You mentioned that most African youths would leave the country, and you said something about if you are a lizard in your country, you're not going to go to a foreign country and be a crocodile. You still be a lizard. And it's funny enough because when you sit and you're looking at the lifestyle that a lot of these Africans go and adapt in say in the Western world, you realize that we in Africa are actually better off. For example, you have their working time. They basically don't have time for themselves. So what advice would you give for those lizards who, I don't know if that's the right word I should use, but yeah, I'm just trying to use your words, which actually strikes back home. What advice would you give for the lizards that have chosen to leave Africa thinking that they could be crocodiles somewhere else?
Thank you, Blandine, and to all those listening to us this evening. I want to say, when you look at things like that, the first thing I want you to understand about the reason why a lot of Africans want to actually live a kind of life out there, it's because of low self-esteem. That was the target of the educational system that was brought to Africa, to actually demean the African youth, the African people. And as long as they are demeaned, they will underlook themselves. And at every given moment, they want to live up to the standard of the white man, the Caucasians. And so that had been inculcated already in most of us in a way that it is programmed in our subconscious mind. In a way, we just reproduce it without actually thinking. We think it's our lifestyle because it has been inculcated, programmed in our subconscious mind. So we are actually in a matrix. We live a life that is not ours, and so we act what is not ours. And so to actually advise the African youth, I want to tell all African youths that for you to be able to live who you are, because the true problem is a problem of identity. I always like repeating this. It's a problem of identity. As long as you do not know who you are, you want to be any other person you see around you. And because you feel like the Caucasians are more advantaged than you, you want to act and live like them. But the interest is not to be like them. It is to be you, because your originality is what actually will benefit you more. When you know who you are and you live up to who you are, you realize that the world will run towards you. Be your best and you experience the best of the world. Listen to me. Struggling to be like a Caucasian is the worst mistake you can ever make in your life. Why? Because a Caucasian was never created to live and be like you. We have a skin texture, and color that permits us to live in harsh environments which Caucasians can never live in. There are places in the world which only Africans can actually invade and take advantage of. But because we don't know that about ourselves, most of the times we are struggling to copy what the Caucasians are doing. And by virtue of that, we become slaves to ourselves. And you see, we have been invested or inculcated self-hate in us to an extent where we don't like ourselves. I'll advise you to start loving yourself. But before you do get to that dimension, to that level of loving yourself, there is need for you to actually reform your mind. Mental reformation is the cure to this particular sickness, mental sickness, which we have. And once that happens, we will excel. So for you to be able to not see Europe or America as the paradise or the greener pastures, as per se, you must get to believe in what you have. I want to ask you a question. It's just like Blandine said a couple of minutes ago, that most of the times when we leave Africa, we go to Europe, the time in which we spend in walking, we are walking like slaves. We work at times 3 jobs in order to meet up with that particular society. So you spend 8 hours, 8 hours, 8 hours. You can count that. How many hours have you spent? In 24 hours, somebody uses close to 16 hours walking. You are more of a slave. In Africa, I might use 8 hours to walk and I have all the time to do other things, to invest in my personal business. But most Africans, when they leave Africa and they travel to Europe or to America, the walking time, walking is actually made to enslave you. And when you are working for the government, it is more of a sacrifice because there's no payment. At times, it is the private companies and enterprises that can even pay you better. So, my advice to you, if you want to be a crocodile in Africa, then you must live like a crocodile in Africa. Don't leave Africa as a lizard and think that is when you enter Europe that you become a crocodile. It is a matter of culture and attitude. So as I was saying, I would like that each African should build that inner culture in them. Believe in yourself because you are the only person that can change the situation in which Africa is undergoing. I cited a situation and I said, if you look around the world, the African people are insulted, accused, humiliated, downgraded because of the results we produce. We have been trained, programmed to be beggars, to be slaves. And that is why when we leave our nation, anywhere we enter, we are looking for a job. We want somebody to employ us. We want somebody to create a job and employ us. But we could become masters by deprogramming ourselves again and reprogramming ourselves to know that we are masters. And when that programming, that reprogramming is done, you will realize that Africans will want to own their own businesses. We will want to buy our own. I envy the Chinese people a lot because when these guys go anywhere they enter, they don't want to work for people. They create their own businesses. They associate around their own people. They encourage their people to buy from them. And when they do that, you discover that they become more stronger. They become a force to reckon with. And today, look at what is happening. They have come to Africa and they're strong. In Africa, they are enslaving Africans in Africa. They come create jobs in Africa and employ Africans to work in Africa. Don't you think there is a problem that we need to, there's a fundamental problem. And that fundamental problem is the programming which we had had through the kind of education that we had received. And my cry and my desire is to see that Africans get to deprogram themselves. We should become employers, not employees. We should start creating businesses. That is the only way that we will have salvation. Africa, you have the yam and the knife in your hands. You determine the way you cut it. Sincerely speaking, we can't keep blaming the Europeans all the time. We can't keep blaming the Chinese all the time. We have to start blaming ourselves, because we need to get to know if we are in the mess we are in, it's because we have chosen not to reprogram ourselves. We already know the problem that we have. The problem Africans have is the programming, which was done through the education that we received. And so I would like each and every one of us to get to invest in ourselves again. When we do that, I want to tell you, you become a force to reckon with. We will have every reason to pull the world towards us. We will have no reason to leave Africa. When you are traveling because you want to go for, you want to visit, you want to know other parts of the world, that is okay. I do that, I travel. I don't travel to go and stay in somebody's nation or continent, because that won't give me anything. In Africa, I have everything I need. I have learned to actually produce mine. I work for myself and for my fellow brothers and sisters. I'm not working. I will not go to become a slave to the white man. In no way. So, brothers and sisters, you're listening to me. I'm not saying that it's bad to work. Now that you are working, begin to think on how to come back home and invest. Because the most important thing is to give back to our society what we carry inside of us. I want to make you understand something. There is none of us that is empty. Each one of us is loaded. We are loaded with potentials that the world actually needs. And if we are going to be different, then we must make sure we tap into those potentials and start contributing it to the world. When you want to die, you should die empty. Like yesterday I was saying when I was broadcasting in the program yesterday on understanding the concept of money, I made some statements. And which I might repeat, I don't know if it was in that program or on Monday, or on Tuesday, I beg your pardon. I said a lot of Africans have died poor when they were supposed to be the richest persons on earth. Some of them have died without ever writing a piece of a letter when they were supposed to be authors. Some of them died without ever being able to create a single thing when they were supposed to be inventors. Many industrialists have died never opening even a small garage. So I want us to get to realize that the problem with Africa lies with Africans. We will blame at times everybody, but we fail to blame ourselves. And that's where there is a problem. We blame it on our leadership. We blame it on the Caucasians. We blame it on the Chinese. We blame it on everybody. But we fail to see that the problem at times is us. I want to leave you with this statement before I come back after. it is not what people have done to you that matters. It is what you do with what people have done to you that matters. So the way you respond to the various maltreatments that have been meted to you will determine the kind of life you will live. Some people take the maltreatment, the challenges, the difficulties as a stepping stone to enter the next level of their lives, while others see it as the burial ground. That particular difficulty should not become a tomb for you. I want you to make it to become a stepping stone to the next level of your life. We have been maltreated, but we have every right to reform our lives and become better than we were before. So don't blame people and forget to take the blame yourself. We have to start taking the blame. It is from that particular position that we'll be able to change our world, our continent, and make it a better place. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Prof, for that. Definitely, we will get back to you with the closing remarks. But for now, I just know that we have a lot of people that have joined us today. We have, I'm trying to get through to the names. So we have Laurie who's joined us. We have Tina all the way from the USA. She's from Ethiopia, and she's based in the USA. Tina, are you there? Hello, Tina. Okay, while we'll be getting back to Tina, the floor is open. We have approximately 20 minutes for contribution. If anyone has something to say regarding the topic of today, why should the African youth stay back and develop Africa? If there's anyone that has a contribution, I think I'm looking directly at you because I know that you are one of those that would love to have something to say regarding the topic. Isaac?
Yes, thank you, Madam Brandon. Good evening to everybody.
Good evening, Isaac.
So, as part of tonight, for the youth to step back to promote the pride of Mama Africa. First of all, many of the youth, they normally run to the diaspora to look for the green pasture, but of which the green pasture is already in our continent. I will give you like 2-3 examples of the youth which refuse to get the good scholarships from those good universities from Europe, Asia, and everywhere. Like Osman from Gambia, that young man, many universities across the globe, they are fighting for him to give him the scholarships. But for him, he was open to them, said that, for me, I'm a Pan-African. I'm a young Pan-African. I will not go anywhere in the diaspora to look for the green pasture. The green pasture is here in Africa. For me, I will not go anywhere. I will remain in Africa. I will study in Africa. I will work for Africa to bring back its pride. Then, Professor Lumumba, Patrick Lumumba of Kenya, the Professor Pro Foundation, gave him a scholarship in Rwanda, Rwanda, where he's studying his bachelor's. Then another one, it's called Rogers. Even for him, he refused those scholarships from UK, Canada, everywhere. And he was sponsored by the University of Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. So because many youth, after their graduation or any after they are running outside Africa, outside to look for the green pasture, of which reaching there, they become the threat to of above age of 40 to 45 plus, and of which they have a lot of experience to you. And of which the moment you want to enter in that office, they will first ask you the experience work. It's better you go back at the ground, start planning from the ground level. It's when you will get what you want, rather than going to the diaspora looking for the green pasture, and of which you as a youth, you as an African, you as a Pan-African, you can get your green pasture on the ground where you are. So I'm calling upon very many youths, those who are just languishing around the downtowns, around crossing the borders, going to the diaspora, going to Asia, going where to look for the green pasture. Better step back, organize yourself, uproot the things that you have on the ground. It's the only way to stand back and we promote our culture. For example, the youth nowadays, they are copying the Western culture, and of which that Western culture is killing us. Totally is killing us. Can find the youth doesn't want to know the culture of Africa. I mean, you tell now they started speaking in the languages of those people. Eh? Yes, many you know what. That those languages of the Westerners. It's better we come back as one family, like the Julius Kambarage Nyerere of Tanzania. He quoted one thing, say that for us, we are very, very blessed with God, because God created Africa with each and everything. But we Africans, we don't know how to use those things. That's the reason why the Westerners came into Africa to exploit all the things that we are having. Now it's high time for us, the 21st century generation, to come down, to step down on the ground, and we do what? We do what is needed. Instead of flying, going to the diaspora to look for the green pasture. The green pasture, it is here in Africa.
That's
Full
very true,
here in
Isaac.
Africa.
Thank you so very much, Isaac. We have other people that need that have to talk, so I'm not trying to interrupt you, but what I've picked out from what Young to Africa go. Anyway, Laurie, are you there? You opted to. For contribute.
Hello.
Yeah, we can't hear you. You're muted. Good evening, Mr. Vincent.
Hello, good evening.
And welcome once more. I'm glad that your connection has given to the end of the news. Should stay. Laurie, after this, I'm going to get back to you before we go to Prof for the closing remarks. So, Mr. Vincent, you're on. Right. We are still having problems with Mr. Vincent's connection. I'm hoping that he would be able to clear that before we go off. Laurie, the floor is yours.
Vincent, you are on. Can't you talk?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Mr. Vincent's connection has been disturbing. Can you?
Hello?
Mr. Vincent?
Yes, that's Loris talking. That's Loris. Can hear you, Loris.
Yeah, Lori. Yeah, Loris is
Yeah,
Loris
good
is
day.
on now.
Good day, everyone. Thank you for the great job you're doing. My contribution is I saw the topic today, and it speaks about why African youth should stay in. I have a different contribution of looking at it from different perspectives. You know, we have a lot of African youth that really wants to develop Africa. They truly love Africa. They want to do things in Africa. But when we talk about this, do we have the environment that enhance things like this? I mean, most part of African continent or African countries, you see a lot of things that are supposed to be awarded, a lot of contract awards. You see a lot of platforms, a lot of opportunities that are supposed to be for the locals of African descent that are being given out to foreigners who come into our country, or I don't know for what reason, but this happens often. And I can talk of Nigeria, where I am currently. You know, we are, when I pass through, when I travel through road, I see all sort of constructions that have been handed by the Chinese. And I think to myself, are there no people who can do this road construction right here in Nigeria? At the end of everything, you see those youth that have taken their time to study a particular occupation to go into other business. Or after a while, when they try the other means and it's not working for them, the only thing they could resort to thinking about is how to escape from Nigeria and go to other part of the world where they think it's greener pasture. Yes, we know that what we've been subjected to over opportunity to become what I want to be. And if I could go somewhere else and leave at least 90% up to what I want to be, then they're willing to do whatever it takes to do that. We know that's not good. That's not the solution. But we need an environment that enhances the African people, the African youth who love Africa, to do everything and to explore, to make Africa better. And I know a lot of these problems come from the leaders. Fine. I'm not trying to play the blame game. And we have ourselves to blame as well. But if we want to do things and the environment is not giving that opportunity, what do you expect those youths to do?
But
I went to Ghana. The same thing that is happening in Nigeria is happening in Ghana.
I'm going to ask as a youth, that don't you think it then falls on you to make it happen?
Are you putting that question to me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, if it to make it happen. But think about it. I go to the department who are supposed to give me a license to operate whatever I want to operate, whatever business I want to do, right in my country. And maybe because I'm local, or for one reason or the other, or because I'm not into bribery or not trying to bribe anyone, the license will never be given to me. And once anyone comes as a foreigner, from wherever they come from, wherever they are, as long as they have the money to bribe their way through, this license that was supposed to be given to locals will be handed to them. So how do you expect me now to keep doing the same when I know I will never be given the opportunity to be what I want to be? So there's a problem with the individual.
Right. Okay, thank you very much, Laurie. I think I lost you at some point, but hopefully we will. Am I audible enough? Can everyone hear me?
Yes, Blanda, and you are audible. We're hearing you loud and clear.
Okay. Oh, welcome back, Kennedy. It's a pleasure having you back. So we are 10 minutes to the end of the show, and we had Prof who said he would have to say one more thing before we leave. Prof, are you there? Prof?
Yes, I'm there. I'm there.
Right, the floor is yours.
Okay. I'm sure these are last words, if I am not mistaken. I want to
Yes, they are.
I want to speak to Africa again and remind you it is true. I just heard Larry saying the situation at hand might be based on the leadership or say the governance of our nations, where you might have the desire to do something, but the government in one way or another wants to hold you down. So I want to say that is not enough reason for us to actually abandon what we are here doing. Baho, please, can you mute your phone? So, as I was saying, it is simple and easy for you to blame every other person and choose not to blame yourself.
Richard, can you go on, Prof?
Are you getting me? Is somebody getting me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So I'm saying that it is very possible for you and I to point the fingers to others and choose not to blame ourselves. But if we are supposed to make a difference, we have to be able to do it even in the midst of all the fire in which we are found in. So there is no condition that is too difficult which we cannot survive in it. If the nation refuses to give you the licenses to do what you want to do, you could associate yourself with another organization that is already having the license and still go ahead and do what you are supposed to do. Apart from that, you can't tell me that everything that we want to do in Africa will be held by bottlenecks. I know there is bottleneck leadership in Africa, but we can't completely condemn them. Like Loris was saying, we need to get to a place where we accept reality. The terrain is difficult, but we must learn to survive in it and strive in it. That's why we are Black people. That's why we are who we are. We can make the difference here in Africa if we choose to. Somebody will feel like maybe you have made it in life and you are now struggling to say, no. Each and every one of us, it is a task we should accept to take without fear. I mean it. You should choose to bear it and be ready to die for it. Why? The future of your children are more important than the present leisure you want to get. I will do everything to make sure that the future of my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren become just the best. They should be able to look onto themselves and be proud of being Africans because somebody fought for them. We shouldn't keep on saying, okay, the conditions are not favorable. We should stop doing that. If we keep pointing these fingers, we will abandon riches beneath our feet, and strangers will come and get the riches while we will remain poor. So I want to still reiterate, we can't keep on with the blame game. If we will succeed, we will need to get a distance in walking. We must invest ourselves. We must invest our time in this continent of Africa in order to get the best result for our children's future tomorrow. We can't keep on with the blame game. Can that stop, please? We should stop blaming. We should stop it. If we don't stop it, we'll end up suffering. So, okay, I want to end here by saying it is not much of what people have done. I'll still repeat it to you. It is much of what you do with what they have done. Your reactions to their actions is what matters. But I believe we must abandon the state of reacting and enter into the laboratory of acting and proacting. That is what is most important. Africans, Africa is for you. It's for you and your children, and your children's children, and your children's children's children. So now is the time to start investing that future. Stop looking at yourself. You are not the person you should be working for. You should be working for your children tomorrow. So stop blaming the situation to people and start investing now. If we will make that future we are expecting, if you will not enjoy it, there is no problem. I believe Kwame Nkrumah, Marcus Garvey, and the others, they fought. They were not fighting because they wanted to enjoy it. They were fighting for the independence of Africa because they wanted that you and I should have our own nation, not being controlled by the Caucasians. Today, we have our own nation. It is time for us to choose to build our nation. It is a choice we have to make. And now is the time to make that. They have fought for it, let's build it. They fought for it, let's build it. If we build it, then at the end of the day, our names will enter into the history of those who never cowered in the times of challenges. I would never be a coward in my days. And I beg on you not to be a coward. Let's walk in Africa, invest in Africa. We call on our brothers in the diaspora, come to Africa, invest in Africa. It is a strategic time. Africa will in a soon future become a free trade zone where we could sell from across the entire continent. So we should start working towards that now when it is tea time. It is the cry I'm giving to each one of you. Thank you very much for listening to me. If you are part of this platform, if it's your first time of being part of this platform, I want to advise you and to go to our website, pafremo.org. That's PAFREEMOV.org. Use that particular link. Go there, register to become a member of the movement, because we are building something that we want to use to affect Africa. I'll repeat it again. www.pafremo. I would like our host to write it so that you can see it on screen, and you copy it, you click on it, go to the website and fill it and become a member of the movement so that we can work together. God bless and increase you. Thank you, Blandine.
Right. Thank you so very much, Prof, for that contribution. Well, I said it was going to be the closing remark for the day, but I have someone, I can't ignore him because it's actually his first time that he's joining us on set, and it's only but normal that I give him just a few minutes, you know, to say what he has to say. He has a little contribution for us. Henry Dashe, what do you have to say?
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to talk, and then also to share my experiences with you here. One of the things I would like to talk about is I would like to first of all respond to Loris. What I would like to say is because when you look at the history of Africa, you would believe with me that there has not been any leadership or any change in leadership that has changed the life of the people since inception. And so I think the problem does not lie within the frame of the leadership or frames of those who lead, or those who the trustees of the Commonwealth of a nation. But I think the youths also have something to contribute. I know very well, I mean, most parts of Africa will discover that unemployment and then lack of opportunity drive youths to entrepreneurial criminality. And so when you talk about Nigeria, because I'm from Nigeria, though I'm not in Nigeria currently, I'm in Burkina Faso, but I will tell you that a lot of people go into cyber crimes and a lot of things just to survive, okay? And just to meet up with the 21st century. Now, when you talk about the contribution of youth, I sometimes believe that we can go back to history, first of all, just as Prof has mentioned it. We can go back to history first to know ourselves, and then to share who we are with other people. And first of all, I think we can go with the idea of romantic primitivism. That is, it's a kind of not trying to emphasize the past grandeur that we have as people, but also trying to look at but trying to validate simplicity of who we are as Africans first, and also give respectability to the non-technical traditions that we have here in Africa, okay? And so this historical perspective should take pride in precisely those traditions that Europe arrogance, so to say, would seem to despise. And so I think we as African, we as youths here in Africa, has the intellectual capacity to start something, even if it is small, to start something. It is time that we begin to consume what we produce within our ranks. It is true that we do not have, we have the resources quite okay, but when you talk about, okay, now, let me give you an example. Go to Nigeria. Currently, I think the Senate have they demanded for exotic cars. You get the point. And this was billions of naira. And this they demanded for the cars at a time when we had coronavirus. So now we do not even know how many hospitals that treat coronavirus in Nigeria, but now we are demanding for cars that worth billions. So now, what do you give? What kind of image do you give me as an African? You give me an image of an African where politics is all about embezzlement. Politics is all about old peasants. Politics is all about looting. And this is a time where the African youths need to go and invest, not really invest, but invest their time to know what is really happening within the space or within the realm of politics. Because when we do not involve ourselves, we wouldn't know what is happening there. We can only talk about this, that leaders are not doing well, but we do not know because we are not involved in the process. So I so much believe that we the youths can do much better, and it is time to remain here. And lastly, I would like to contribute a little from what someone said here concerning scholarships. I so much believe that you can go to anywhere around the world to study, to do anything. But what is important for us as Africans is to remind ourselves that we have responsibility back at home. So one thing is we study, but we come back home to reproduce what we have learned. And I think that would be a way in which the African continent can change to the better. Thank you very much for giving me the time to contribute.
Thank you so very much, Henry. That actually, you said something that actually makes sense for all of, I like calling them lizards. I don't know why I'm getting to call these people now. But for everyone that that feels the need, to leave their country, is something that they should bear in mind, that whatever knowledge you acquire there would be beneficial if you came back to your country and invested in there. So that's it for today, except Kennedy has something to say. Kennedy?
Just to say in summary, and I know Prof already summarized, and Henry did a good summary just now, as well as Laurie, and we're glad to have you on.
Show us video now, Kennedy.
Say again?
Show us a video. Show yourself now.
Oh, yeah, I'm just gonna show my head, Prof. I have my work clothes on, and that's why I'm keeping my head a little visible. I'm still in the office.
Okay,
but no,
we're good with that.
It was an excellent program, very good discussions. I thought that the points were very accurate. And I don't want to necessarily summarize all the points, but Laurie spoke about trained engineers, technicians, and then you see others being given the contracts and the awards. But that is definitely about a change. Henry's point about studying and making sure that you remember home, that there is somebody back there, study, come back and develop. That has to be the approach that is adopted. I know that this is very doable, and it's only a matter of time. Like I said, if there is gradual growth over time, over a short period of time, you don't want to wait forever to reap the benefits of your labor. But if there is gradual light at the end of the tunnel over time, then what is likely to occur is that more and more people are going to stay. We are going to stop the brain drain. If more and more people could embrace Usman Torre's philosophy on I am not going anywhere, I am staying and developing here. And if that is indeed the mindset, then I'm convinced it will be doable much quicker than most people think.
Okay, thank you very much, Kennedy. Thank you so much for your contribution. And it's with that note,
Gladys.
Are we good there? You don't have any other thing to say?
Gladys is there.
Oh, Gladys, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Do you have something to say?
Well, I don't have anything to add so far, because we are already in time, and other panelists have already said what needed to be said. So, like at this time, my battery is 6%. I have not.
All right. Thank you very much for. You keep breaking.
Excellent points. Right, thank you. That is excellent points. Thanks for having you on as well. Thanks for having you on.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this episode today. And it's at that note that we'll say good night to everyone who is, well, nighttime where they are, and wonderful rest of the day to you, Kennedy. And and yeah, thank you for
Take care. Great
Bye-bye.
job. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And thank
Bye,
you.
everyone. Bye, Prof. Prof, we
this
chat.
evening. Thank you, Henry. Thank you, Loris.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And
Join us
hoping to see
again,
you all.
Henry and Loris. Please
Good
join
night,
us again.
Lawrence and Bill Barnett. Henry, see you on Saturday. Our next program.
All right. Good night.
Okay.
Excellent job as always, Blandine. Excellent job.
Thank you
Right.
very much, Kennedy.
Bye, folks.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye, everybody.
Okay,
Bye.
bye-bye.